Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 27 of D.A.R.C, or Does Anyone Really Care? The mini review series where I'm just doing a quick evaluation of certain cars which seem kind of underappreciated by most people on Gran Turismo 6. You don't see these cars used very much for racing or cruising or drag or drift or anything really. Cars which in many cases people just don't even bother buying because you assume that it's either just going to be boring or just potentially a waste of money. Now this car, for me, that definitely was the case. It's the Mazda Axela 23S, which in Europe is known as the Mazda 3. It's based on the Ford Focus, and until preparing for this series, I'd actually never bought or driven this car at all on Gran Turismo, so this series has actually helped me to find cars for the series that fit the whole concept of the series. Cars which I wouldn't have bought had I not been making these videos about them. So, what is this car like? Well, it's a hot hatch. As we said, it's based on the Focus. The Ford Focus is known for being very driver friendly, very good handling, a very good overall package. So how does this Mazda compare to the Ford? Because obviously the hot hatch versions of the Ford Focus are hugely popular, the ST170 and both of the ST models that feature on the game, and obviously the RS model of the old generation and the RS model of the newer generation, which unfortunately isn't on the game yet, but I should think it probably will be. It's the kind of car you can imagine being on Gran Turismo before too long. So the Ford Focus has got a very strong consumer base already, so is this Mazda good enough to tempt people away from that car on the game? Well, I would say yes, it is. In fact, the handling is actually better, I would say, than the Ford Focus, especially in its fully tuned form, because fully tuned, the Focus ST, for example, is putting out close to 500 horsepower, and with that power, unless you're using it on the top grade tyres, you're going to have chronic torque steer, and the handling, even with racing softs, is still quite heavy, and you can very much feel that it is a front-wheel drive car. With this Mazda, however, it's not putting out as much power as the Ford, but despite that, it is still putting out quite a lot of power for a hatchback, especially a front-wheel drive hatchback, and I think it handles its power much, much better than the Ford does. Now, fully tuned, this Mazda sits at 523 pp, which is pretty high for a hot hatch, but its power is a rather impressive 411 brake horsepower fully tuned, which is pretty good for a 2.3 litre hot hatch. And with the full weight loss package, it weighs in at a very impressive 1030 kilos, so the power to weight ratio on this one is excellent, close to 400 horsepower per tonne, which for a hot hatch is very, very good. But it's lightweight and has a lot of power. So that usually results in a lot of torque steer, a lot of wheel spin, and heavy steering the faster you get. Well, in your typical front-wheel drive cars, that is the result. In this car, it doesn't do that. It actually, like I said, handles its power really well. The handling on this car is actually excellent. The turn-in is great, so much so that you almost can't even tell that it's a front-wheel drive car. It actually handles more like an all-wheel drive car. Now obviously you can't throw it into corners at the speed of a racing car, because obviously then you will see that it is front-wheel drive, start to get a bit of, or start to burn up the wheels because of your entry speed. But in general, the handling, the grip, the turn-in, and just the overall drivability of this car is very, very good. The straight line performance is also very good, but that's not surprising considering its weight and power. Top speed is over 200 miles per hour. It's actually over 210, so it has a very good top speed, fully tuned. Acceleration as well is very good, especially mid-range, as is the case with many front-wheel drive cars. And overall, it's just a really good package, really, like the Ford Focus. Everything's put together very well in a very easy-to-use layout. Now, the price of this particular Mazda is 20,000 credits, so it's really, really well priced. It costs actually bang on 20,000 credits, if I remember correctly. So it's extremely well priced. I think that's actually cheaper than most, if not all, of the Ford Focuses. And you also have the added bonus that not many people use this car. People who tend to go for hot hatches go for the Focus of the two. So if you bring out this car, you've got that added kind of a bonus that you're probably going to be the only person on the grid using the car. Now, that may not appeal to you, but personally that appeals to me because I like being different. I don't like using cars that everyone is using. And this car definitely fits that well, because hardly anyone, if anyone, uses this car. I've never seen anyone use this car for anything on Gran Turismo 6. And like I said, until this series had started, I'd never used it at all, never even bought it. Now, unfortunately, the actual top grade Mazda 3 or Axela is not on the game yet. The top of the range model is, I'm not sure what they call it in Japan, probably the Mazda Speed Atenza, or Mazda Speed Axela, I should say. The Atenza is a completely different model. But in Europe, they call it the Mazda 3 MPS, which is essentially the same as the Focus ST, but it's running about 260 horsepower stock. Which, that would be cool if that was on the game, but unfortunately it isn't yet. So for now, this is the best version of this car that you can get. And overall, it's a really good car. I would definitely recommend trying it out if you haven't done so already. And if you have already bought one and you've let it gather dust in your garage and never tuned it, I would definitely recommend that you get this car out, invest in upgrading it, and it will serve you very, very well. It has excellent handling. I haven't driven it on a wide range of tracks, so I'm not sure how it would perform, for instance, on a city track, but based on its handling here at Lasarte, I would say it probably performs very well on the majority of tracks. As far as its most competitive PP level, well, I haven't raced with it, so I can't tell you that. But based on the feel of the car, and based on the fact that fully tuned it has 411 horsepower, there is a lot of room for variation. So you should be able to reduce the power significantly and it still be a very competitive car in its respective PP. Say, maybe 475 PP, for instance. I think it would be quite a competitive car. So that's it for this review. I hope you enjoy using this car if you do decide to use it. I hope you find this helpful. And that's it for this time, so I'll see you next time. And as always, thanks for watching.